Welcome to Collenbrook United Church, to Ash Wednesday. It is wonderful that you have joined us. This is the beginning of the season of Lent, the season of repentance. And so I begin with a reading like those who have gone before, walking this road of Christian faith. This day, we too wear the mark of a cross. This mark is perhaps more public. This mark is perhaps more confessing than other crosses that we wear throughout the year. It is a mere mark, however gritty, a dirty smudge, which is even more humbling than other marks, than other crosses that we bear. But as you wear your mark of the cross from this place, may you remember all that it represents. As you wear the mark of the cross, may you be mindful of ways in which the cross has already marked your life. And may you find daily through this Lenten journey ways in which God is calling you to share with the world the love and forgiveness which you have already come to know in the gritty, humble, dirty, sacred mark of God, the cross. As you go to wash this mark of grit, may you be mindful of the one whose love washes over us. May you center on the one whose body lived and died and rose again. May you focus on the one who offers to remove all stains. May you breathe a breath of remembrance of the one who gives us life. And may you, having confessed again what separates you from God's love, say a word of forgiveness even to yourself. May you receive the word of forgiveness offered to you, a sign of God's reconciling love at work in the world, a sign of how we need each other to give witness to grace itself and to move us ever closer to God's heart. May it be so. After day they seek me and delight to know my ways, as if they were a nation that practiced righteousness and did not forsake the ordinance of their God. They ask of me righteous judgments. They delight to draw near to God. Why do we fast, but you do not see? Why humble ourselves, but you do not notice? Look, you serve your own interest on your fast day and oppress all of your workers. Look, you fast only to quarrel and to fight and to strike with a wicked fist. Such fasting as you do today will not make your voice heard on high. Is such the fast that I choose, a day to humble oneself? Is it to bow down the head like a bulrush and to lie in sackcloth and ashes? Will you call this a fast, a day acceptable to the Lord? Is not this the fast that I choose? To loose the bonds of injustice, to undo the thongs of the yoke, to let the oppressed go free and to break every yoke? Is it not to share your bread with the hungry and build and bring the homeless poor into your house? When you see the naked, to cover them, and not to hide yourself from your own kin. Then your light shall break forth like the dawn, and your healing shall spring up quickly. Your vindicator shall go before you. The glory of the Lord shall be your rear guard. Then you shall call, and the Lord will answer. You shall cry for help, and he will say, here I am. If you remove the yoke from among you, the pointing of the finger, the speaking of evil, if you offer your food to the hungry and satisfy the needs of the afflicted, then your light will arise in the darkness, and your gloom be like the noonday. The Lord will guide you continually and satisfy your needs in parched places and make your bones strong. And you shall be like a watered garden, like a spring of water whose waters never fail. Your ancient ruins shall be rebuilt. You shall rise up the fountains of many generations. You shall be called the repairer of the breach, the restorer of streets to live in. Our next reading is Psalm 51, verses 1 through 17. Have mercy on me, O God, according to your steadfast love. According to your abundant mercy, blot out my transgressions. Wash me thoroughly from my iniquity and cleanse me from my sin. For I know my transgressions, and my sin is ever before me. Against you, you alone have I sinned, and done what is evil in your sight, so that you are justified in your sentence and blameless when you pass judgment. Indeed, I was born guilty, a sinner, when my mother conceived me. You desire truth in the inward being. Therefore, teach me wisdom in my secret heart. Purge me with hyssop, and I shall be clean. Wash me, and I shall be whiter than snow. Let me hear joy and gladness. Let the bones that you have crushed rejoice. Hide your face from my sins and blot out all my iniquities. Create in me a clean heart, O God, and put a new and right spirit within me. Do not cast me away from your presence, and do not take your Holy Spirit from me. Restore to me the joy of your salvation and sustain me in a willing spirit. Then I will teach transgressors your ways, and sinners will return to you. Deliver me from bloodshed, O God of my salvation, and my tongue will sing aloud of your deliverance. O Lord, open my lips, and my mouth shall declare your praise. For you have no delight in sacrifice. If I were to give a burnt offering, you would not be pleased. The sacrifice acceptable to God is a broken spirit, a broken and contrite heart. O God, you will not despise. Our next reading comes from the author Noah Ben-Shea. Noah Ben-Shea writes about a baker whose name was Jacob. Now, Jacob was just a very simple man. He was a baker who went to the bakery early in the morning to heat up the ovens. And he found himself taking little tiny slips of paper and just writing his thoughts on those papers. And these were amazing words of wisdom. Well, there was one day that one of his slips of paper accidentally got into the loaf of bread that he was kneading because these little slips of wisdom paper were sitting on the side of his kneading board. And when the person who had purchased that loaf of bread found those words of wisdom, she came running back to the bakery, and the owner of the bakery, of course, thought, well, Jacob needs to apologize. And the woman said, no, I want to buy 10 loaves with words of wisdom. So Jacob became well known in the community, that people came from far and near to ask him questions and to hear his wisdom. So here is Jacob. In the middle of the day, Jacob took time to rest. He sat on an overturned crate propped against the back door of the bakery. Below the loading dock, he could see footprints left in the mud. Rainwater had filled the outline of each imprint, and pigeons dipped their beaks into the small pools. Our trail is a well, thought Jacob. Others draw water from where we have been. Our path has purpose beyond where it leads. You see, these footprints in the mud became something that was life-sustaining in holding water for the pigeons to drink. So the footprints of someone's journey became something much more than just the journey of that one. It became a well of something that was life-giving for someone else. May our journey through Lent create wells that will feed others the gift of life. As we take time during this time of preparing to face the Holy Week and all the events of Holy Week, may the journey that we take offer life and life-giving water to those who will follow. May it be so. Our next story sharing also comes from the Jacob the Baker series by Noah Ben Shia. And I'll tell the beginning of the story before I begin to read the conversation that happens here. So here is Jacob. He woke early in the morning, and halfway to the bakery, Jacob decides to stop at his dear friend, Mr. Gold's. He was hoping that his friend would be awake, and Jacob rapped gently to see if Mr. Gold had said good morning to the sun. Mr. Jacob shouted, "I'm coming, I'm coming." Jacob was touched to see memory capable of drawing Mr. Gold out of the darkness as he thought he was a young man again and being called to prayers. When he saw it was Jacob, Mr. Gold motioned for his friend to come in, and he grew a smile for his company, and just as quickly Mr. Gold's head dipped downward. "Do you know who I am, Jacob?" He didn't give Jacob an opportunity to speak. "I am an old man, and I am dying." Mr. Gold seemed to sink beneath his sadness. "Tell me, Jacob, is this it?" He motioned around the room. "Is there nothing more?" We become attached to this life, only to be torn from it like some crude joke in the stars. And Jacob responded, "We make life not only crude, but cold, by dressing ourselves in a nakedness woven from our own ignorance." Mr. Gold: "It doesn't make sense. Our days amount to nothing." Jacob's eyes listened without arguing or agreeing. He thought of the pain festering in Mr. Gold's words. But when Jacob spoke, his voice unfolded with an attitude of a man not filled with knowing, but with caring. "Mr. Gold, all passes. Nothing stops. Our days do amount to nothing, but that is because we are not a collection. We are a process. The truth about the seasons is that the seasons change. While everything appears to live and die, it is only the appearance of things which lives and dies. The dead are buried. Their memory is not." Mr. Gold: "You know, Jacob, you are wise, and I am old." Jacob: "Then you already know, Mr. Gold, that the roots of time hold both memory and promise. Will you remember me, Jacob?" "I promise one day I will join you, Mr. Gold." Mr. Gold's laughter sounded like a trumpet and brought light to the corners of the room. And then the silence regained its balance, and the two men sat there making music from the quiet between their notes. It was Mr. Gold who counted time and eventually spoke first. "Jacob, where do you find the strength to carry on in life?" Jacob answered, "Life is only heavy because we attempt to carry it. But I do find strength in the ashes." "In the ashes?" "Yes," said Jacob. "You see, Mr. Gold, each of us is alone. Each of us is in the great darkness of our ignorance, and each of us is on a journey. In the process of our journey, we must bend to build a a fire for light and warmth and food. But when our fingers tear at the ground, hoping to find the coals of another's fire, what we often find are the ashes. And in these ashes, which will not give us light or warmth, there may be sadness, but there is also testimony. Because these ashes tell us that somebody else has been in the night. Somebody else has bent to build a fire, and somebody else has carried on. And that can be enough sometimes. We will find the ashes on our foreheads or in our memories. But the ashes will remind us that we are finite. We will all join Mr. Gold and Jacob one day. And that's okay. But in the meantime, we remember that we are dust, and to dust we shall return. And we will carry on. And sometimes, most of the time, that can be enough. May you be continually blessed by God and by this journey through Lent. Be well.